Good morning, board members that are online. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Great, thank you.
Yes. Raise your hand, but what a pain in the ass. That took forever.
Okay, so just real quick, how do I get this back to, I don't want to look like.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the joint meeting of the Valley Metro RPTA and Valley Metro Rail meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. Pat, would you please conduct the roll?
Good morning, everyone. City of Avondale, Councilmember Max White.
Present.
City of Buckeye, Vice Mayor Clay Goodman.
Present.
City of Chandler, Vice Mayor O.D. Harris. City of El Mirage, Councilmember Monica Dorsey.
Present.
Town of Fountain Hills, Councilmember Peggy McMahon.
Present.
Town of Gilbert, Mayor Bridget Peterson.
Present.
City of Glendale, Councilmember Lauren Tolmachoff. City of Goodyear, Councilmember Bill Stipp.
Present.
Maricopa County Chairman Jack Sellers. City of Mesa Vice Mayor Francisco Heredia. I did receive a note that he'll be joining us later in the meeting. City of Peoria Vice Mayor John Edwards.
Present.
City of Phoenix Councilmember Laura Pastor. I believe that she will also be joining us. Town of Queen Creek Councilmember Jeff Brown. City of Scottsdale Vice Mayor Kathy Littlefield. City of Surprise Councilmember Allie Klein. Here. City of Tempe Vice Mayor Jennifer Adams.
Present.
City of Tullison Vice Mayor Loopy Bandon. Town of Wickenburg Mayor Rui Pereira. And Town of Youngtown Mayor Michael LaVault.
Yes, Pat, I'm here.
So we're ready to proceed. We do have a quorum.
Vice
Yeah,
Mayor.
I see OD has joined us as well. And I know Councilmember Tomalchoff may be joining us later via web. She's head of emergency. Okay. All right. First item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comment cards?
No, sir, not today.
Okay. Item 2 is the Chief Executive Officer's report.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I have a number of items I'd like to provide you with brief updates on this morning. Next slide, please. I am pleased to share that Valley Metro will receive congressionally directed funding for fleet purchases. These purchases are largely concentrated in the West Valley and include an earmark of $1.3 million for accessible microtransit vehicles and related infrastructure. We know that for a number of our communities, microtransit has become an increasingly important service to provide first, last mile access as well as local circulation. Piloting this technology will also give us more experience and data, particularly on smaller vehicles with respect to zero emissions technology. We also received an additional $500,000 in congressionally directed funding to put toward our overall zero emissions fleet transition program. And Councilwoman Tomalchoff is not here, and I thought this slide should have fireworks because we've been talking with City of Glendale for some time about ride choice. And Councilmember Klein, I know you're a great champion of ride choice in the West Valley. City of Glendale has decided that they will initiate a ride choice pilot program with Valley Metro. That's going to begin this July 1st. Together with Glendale, we anticipate serving almost 10,000 ride choice trips in that first year. Each city decides who is eligible for ride choice service. Some cities make only ADA eligible customers eligible. Other cities actually offer the service to seniors age 62 and up. The Glendale pilot is going to be limited in its inception to our ADA eligible customers. I want to note too that of late, ride choice has actually surpassed our ADA paratransit in terms of the number of trips. We think this is a good thing. Ride choice has an overall lower cost per trip than our also very critical ADA paratransit service. This depends on the availability of ride choice services in a given community and also the mobility capability of our specific customers. So it's a very tailored program. We think this is a great expansion. Continuing on the topic of expanding accessibility, we have talked in this room on a number of occasions about the ADA assessment process, which is a process compliant with the Americans with Disability Act and Federal Transit Administration requirements. We're performing assessments of our customers each year to determine their ADA eligibility. Historically, those assessments have been undertaken at our mobility center, which is in Phoenix. Pursuant to board direction, particularly that of you, Councilwoman Klein, we've been exploring other options to make this assessment process more convenient for our ADA customers. So we're exploring a few different things right now, including community center-based assessments. Our staff is working now with City of Surprise staff to explore potential locations within the cities that we serve. I've been to all of your city halls and many of your community centers, for our member communities. They're beautiful facilities. Of course, they're accessible facilities. So we think there's an opportunity for us to partner and host accessibility assessment events. We're also exploring a mobile unit, which would be delivered using a vehicle that travels throughout our service area, as well as expanding our hours of service at our mobility center to include Saturdays. Currently, it's Monday through Fridays only. We're continuing to explore cost and feasibility. This is moving quickly, and we anticipate reporting back to you these next couple of months on progress. We've also discussed, as part of our fare collection modernization, making reduced fares more accessible to our ADA eligible customers. Again, historically, these reduced fare permits were obtained in person at the mobility center. I'm pleased to report that we are now mailing our ADA, so our reduced fare platinum passes to our customers. This mailing began this month, and we expect that by the end of April, we will have mailed 1,500 cards to our ADA Platinum Pass holders. So great expansion of accessible services. Speaking of accessibility, biking and walking is part of the services that we offer. April is Valley Bike Month. As part of that, yesterday was actually Bike to Work Day. We had a wonderful time commuting with our friends at City of Phoenix and Maricopa County, who sponsored the Bike to Work event. I enjoyed trading in an indoor bike for an outdoor bike and a commute with friends yesterday morning. So great event put on by Maricopa County, City of Phoenix, and Valley Metro. Speaking of great events, we're pleased to once again host a mega event in the Valley. We partnered with City of Phoenix and the NCAA to support a Final Four pass program that allowed visitors to the Final Four games and events to utilize the mobile pass to get their transit fare, their light rail fare paid for. That fare is actually being supported by the City of Phoenix. And what a great program. Ridership varied over the course of that event. And some days we had as much as a 45% increase in ridership due to the NCAA events. Great job to Valley Metro staff and City of Phoenix staff for pulling this off. I'm going to give you a quick update on South Central. We are now at over 80% complete in South Central. This last bit of track work at 3rd Avenue in Washington, we pushed to have this done in advance of the Final Four. We were successful in that. This is now open to our customers. Looking further south, we are laying about 1,000 track feet a week, I think, right, Trevor? We're moving at a very quick clip. Every week I visit this project, and every week there's great progress on the stations, on the track works. We're finally coming out of the ground. On Saturday of this week, April 20th, we're going to be celebrating once again with Fiesta on Central with the South Central community. That's an event from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And look at these new machines. These are our ticket vending machines. They have arrived. Next month, we're going to begin installation of the ticket vending machines at light rail stations. Our goal is to have each light rail station equipped with one ticket vending machine in the month of May. This is fantastic. This is one of those critical linchpins for our fare collection modernization. We have a pretty comprehensive effort out to engage with our customers in the community to put new fare media in their hands and train them about the new equipment, which includes ticket vending machines and also fare boxes aboard our buses. So hooray. Looking ahead, we'll be back in this room on May 16th for Board of Directors meeting, and on June 20th, the final meeting for this fiscal year. That concludes my remarks. Mr. Chair, members of the board, any questions I may answer?
Does anyone have questions? A lot of, comment, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to get out of the food program here. First of all, I want to thank Valley Metro. I know that I have been asking for greater access to ADA since I've been able to be on this board. I am so excited that we're going to be able to serve our ADA customers even better. And I predict if we have more offsite availability, that we will have more customers using the services all over the community. So kudos to you guys for both listening and taking action. I so appreciate it. So thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Klein. Well done, team.
Great. Any other comments or questions? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, which is the Audit and Finance Subcommittee. It's my understanding Councilmember White is going to give this presentation.
Yes, good morning,
morning.
Chair Stu and members of the board. The Audit and Finance Committee Subcommittee met on Thursday, April 4th And we received our update from Mr. Kessler, our Chief Financial Officer, on the PTF funds. We also learned about the change order and contract authority audit. This item was just presented for information. Ms. Beckstrom provided an internal audit update, and Mr. Kessler presented an overview of the FY25 operating and capital budget for RPTA and Valley Metro. Our next Audit and Finance Subcommittee meeting is scheduled for May 2nd, 2024 at 12 p.m. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you for the report. Does anybody have any questions? All right, seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is presented for our action items 4A, 4B, and 4C. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, item 5 on the agenda is the Fare Collection System Modernization Community Outreach Plan. Yeah, I'll get it out eventually. Hillary? I turn it over to Jessica. I don't know.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I want to invite Hillary Foos, our Director of Communications and Strategic Initiatives, to provide a presentation which is fundamentally about getting fares in the hands of the people. Hillary.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you for your time. I know you've heard a lot about the fare collection system modernization project over the last several years. It's finally happening. Really will be very active over the next several months in helping customers make the transition from the way they currently use their fare media to the future of our system. Just to remind us of the timeline. Thank you. The timeline in front of you. Just a couple highlights here. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Just a couple highlights here. Really last month, we launched a website that allows people to apply for reduced fare for those that are eligible online. And that application is live now, and we're encouraging our reduced fare eligible customers to take part in that. As Jessica mentioned, we have brand new fare machines. They're underway now. The first pass meeting, there is one machine being installed at all light rail stations now. As you'll see later in the timeline, that second pass will happen later here in the summer. Obviously, our hardware is largely obsolete, and we're very excited about the new equipment being installed. This month, specialty passes, those specialty passes are your platinum passes, which is the employer-based pass, ASU, UPass, things of that nature. All of those cards need to be changed out. And so we're working with all of those organizations and employers to do that. Retail network, we have hundreds of grocery stores, convenience stores that are part of our retail network, and we're working to onboard those organizations once again to be able to be retailers as part of where people can in the future load value onto their mobile account or their copper card. That reduced fare website will transition to a public website where people will be able to manage their account as we're going towards an account-based system and load value, and ultimately again see that account live and in person. In May, we'll have a soft launch where all the products will be available. We'll also have the app updated to utilize SmartFare, which, as you may recall, when we talked about some of our fare policy changes, SmartFare is the pay-as-you-go model. Again, the more you ride, the more you save. Ultimately, beginning in the summer, in June and July, all of the full system elements will be available and very active across the system, where ultimately customers need to transition from the paper fare media they know today to, again, that mobile account or the copper card. Again, all those specialty cards will need to transition as well. And that fare box installation, as Jessica mentioned, so all of those fare boxes on our more than 900 buses today, that installation will begin this summer as well. That paper magstripe fare media will no longer be accepted beginning this summer, again, requiring all customers to make that transition, which is why outreach, which I'll talk about here in a second, is incredibly important. This is really, again, a very important critical phase of our overall fare collection system modernization, but there are future phases, and we'll be talking more about that with you as we move forward here across this year and into next year. On a related note, on behalf of my colleague Ken Kessler, who's really leading this effort, you may recall we had a fare policy study session at the beginning of last year. Related to this new account-based system, how do we really leverage that? How do we really grow ridership? How do we make our system even more easier and accessible and equitable to use? And so there is a fare policy study underway today, and the consultant on board is working on a variety of things, including a vast peer review. They're looking at various policies and procedures. We will be coming back to this board late summer, early fall to talk about those recommendations and possible changes to the fare policy. The objectives of our overall outreach program, which is vast and extensive, is ultimately to increase awareness and share the benefits of the new system, certainly support their adoption and their transition in the changes that are ahead of them, and certainly ease concerns and any confusion as we go through this process. First things first, certainly a critical group that will be asked a lot of questions from our customers is our frontline teams, our bus operators, we have maintenance teams in the field, customer service, et cetera. So really beginning in the fall, we've spent a lot of time at our garages and our facilities to make sure that our frontline teams are engaged, informed, and aware. And so these are just a couple pieces. We have a dedicated webpage where they can go find FAQs. Our staff has been living in these garages to make sure that they are informed and engaged as we move through the various phases of this transition, certainly keeping them informed and making sure that they can answer those customer questions is critical, and we will continue our frontline staff engagement across the next several months. Also underway relative to engaging with our customers, here's just a couple of the efforts underway. We have started with some signage. All of those orange decals you see there on the right are on all of our more than 900 buses. We have announcements and social engagement starting, as well as paid media underway. We are also starting our vast outreach at events, at different community events and senior centers, et cetera, across the region. As I mentioned, we're also working with hundreds of our employers and organizations who are engaged in some of those specialty programs. Thank you. Rider engagement, critical. So certainly we want to be vast and broad. We have hundreds of thousands of riders to engage as part of this transition. Some of those listed there on the left side are some of the harder to reach groups that we're very focused on. Certainly our Spanish language audience, our young people who now need to engage as reduced fare eligible audiences. So students, parents, again, our youth, seniors, people with disabilities. On the right, you'll see some of the tactics that we are currently moving forward with, including fare town halls. We have 13 town halls that we are currently organizing. We had our first yesterday with Ability 360. They will be across our region at different times of day, and also hosted in Spanish language as well. We are also taking part in many community events across your cities to make sure we're engaging again with our riders. We will do a vast marketing campaign, targeted marketing as well. And certainly your cities have excellent communication channels, and we're working with your city staff, as well as there will be extensive outreach and education on smart fare, which is a significant change. Not only are we asking people to change their fare media, but also that fare media will operate differently moving forward with the pay-as-you-go smart fare model. Eventually, once we have the copper cards in hand, we will also be doing a significant card distribution effort. And I also want to underscore the regional and bilingual nature of our outreach. Certainly, reduced fare communications will be part of all of our outreach efforts, but we know we need to do an extra heavy lift relative to onboarding our reduced fare audiences into this process. All people who are eligible for reduced fare need to now have a reduced fare account. And that's part of the protections we're putting in place as part of this new program. So specific efforts that we're doing is certainly engaging with those who currently have reduced fare IDs. We're also doing application intake events as part of our fair town halls, where we'll actually be helping people to go through that application process and issuing cards if that's the path they choose. We're also working with your cities and our mobility center to offer what I'm calling office hours, where people will be able to go and get assistance at a variety of regional locations to get help with their online application. Again, that online application is available at valleymetrofairs.org. We're also certainly engaging with partners, certainly disability groups, senior centers, veterans events and groups, et cetera. We will also have a targeted media buy associated with those audiences. Here's just a sampling of some of the branding that you'll start to see relative to our reduced fare audiences. Again, really focused on getting them to engage in registering with their account online. The next slide is that easy to use website, again, with assistance across the valley to help them navigate this website. And then the following slide is some of our general rider education pieces that you'll also start to see in the valley using photos from our real life riders. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Next slide. Thank you. And this website here, I'll underscore valleymetro.org/fare technology. We continue to update it. It's a great resource for you and your staff and certainly your residents. Has a great FAQ, a place to ask questions, a place to sign up for our email system to receive continual updates and also upcoming events where riders can engage. With that, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you for the presentation, Hillary. Does anybody have questions? Councilmember Pastor.
Can you remind me who is the media person or who is the third party helping with this?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Councilmember Pastor, we have, certainly it's a heavy lift from the whole Valley Metro organization. We also have a community outreach firm, Colibri, is helping us with extra hands on deck relative to the community outreach strategy and labor associated with that.
The other piece that I have is the fair town halls. Do we have a list of all the fair town halls so that we know all the different cities that you're hitting, but also for us to be aware just in case we want to show up?
Yes. Mr. Chair, Councilmember Pastor, we're happy to share that. We're just organizing those right now, and we have, I think, 13 in total, and I think almost 10 are already organized. So I'm happy to share with the board the 10 that we have, and certainly get you the full list.
And then my third question is the engagement with youth, senior, and disability groups.
Mhm.
I heard about the disability groups. Believe every one of our cities has senior centers.
Yes.
So how is that going to be coordinated, or will it be coordinated through the town halls?
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Pastor, we actually just had a meeting with your city staff. So we're engaging through our transit staff at your cities to engage with the senior center coordination staff to make sure that we actually send a letter to all the senior centers across the community to offer resources, handouts, opportunities for presentations. And then we're also working through the transit staff to engage with the senior centers as well.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I would like kind of in a global manner, because each one of us has a senior center and we probably would like to go out to our senior centers to say, hey, this is happening, or go. Sometimes, I'm sure all of us do this, but what I do is I go out to the senior centers and I go when they're doing a dance-a-thon. And so I like to go to engage, but I'm sure many of our colleagues would like to see that, or at least get it out.
Absolutely.
You go to dance.
Uh-huh.
You go to dance.
Yeah, I go to line. I go to line dance with them. And we have a great time. The other piece is what I am being asked, and I'm sure my colleagues, those on everybody, I'm being asked for a free fare system. And the response from our staff, Phoenix staff, was it's a Valley Metro regional line. And to do free fares, you have to get an agreement with Valley Metro. So I asked the group to start scheduling meetings with those that sit on the board to discuss free fare, because I can't lift it by myself, even if I wanted to. And so that dialogue, I'm just letting you know, is going to come. I did tell them about student reduced pieces, but I believe where it's coming from is Tucson offered free fare for a year, and now the movement's moving over here. So I'm just letting everybody know that it's coming, or they will be presenting, or public outreach. And so I just want to put that, have everybody understand why that is happening if they're making a request. So, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair, we did host a fair study session in 2023. We'd be happy to recirculate that content. I know we have a number of new board members since that time. One of the directives from the board to staff at that time was for staff to conduct a fair policy study. And that's the study that Hillary mentioned at the top of her presentation that's underway now. We will be coming back to this board with the findings and recommendations from that fair policy study. Remind me of the date. I think it was early 2020.
Early fall of this calendar year.
Yeah.
Later fall.
Late fall. Yeah, I thought it was late fall. I thought it was for
Correct.
the end of the calendar year of 2024. Yeah, so that's underway now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we, I know I'm not supposed to ask questions, and I'm not directing it to the speaker, but on that note, will we be confusing any issues by sending the content from 18 months ago out while we're waiting for an actual study, which is going to say something, I don't want to say completely different, but I don't want to confuse the issue for the board members that weren't here during that time period?
The fair policy study is really focused on recommendations around what types of fares we offer and their pricing. So the fair study session was really information about here's how fares are paid. Some of the information has changed because we've just reviewed today the arrival of new equipment. So we could perhaps avoid that if we can wait to continue the discussion until late this calendar year about fare.
My suggestion for the board would be that we wait to do that. And if you have specific questions regarding the fair, have you or your staff reach back to Valley Metro, but let's leave what was in the past, and let's wait for the actual study to take place. Okay. Any other questions of Hillary from the room? Anybody online with any questions? Seeing or hearing none. Hillary, the only question that I have on the fare collection outreach is that, are we doing the same outreach? And again, this is broken record, but for the bus folks as well. I mean, I know we're doing a lot of light rail and everything is very focused on that. And that's obviously where the machines are going, but are we intending to get that out?
Oh, Mr. Chair, that's our emphasis.
Okay.
So we are making sure that the locations at these town halls are very bus transit accessible, and they are spread out across the region from Peoria to Chandler to Scottsdale to Avondale.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I want to add, Mr. Chair, that the ticket vending machines are being replaced, but so too are fare boxes in
Yeah.
all of the region-wide buses, including Valley Metro and City of Phoenix.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And Hillary, I guess staying up there?
My
Valley Met-
colleague.
Oh, Valley Metro heat efforts. Jessica, go ahead.
This item is also a board requested informational item. The board asked the question, what is Valley Metro doing to prepare for the extreme heat? And we have a lot of wonderful sunshine here in the Valley of the Sun, but we also have extreme heat. We work very closely with our partners at Maricopa County, City of Phoenix. Susan Tierney, our Manager of Communications, is here to provide you with the presentation. And I do want to extend an invitation to any of our member communities who would like to seek collaboration between your community and Valley Metro as we aim to mitigate heat impacts, particularly for customers who are waiting for the bus or train. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you, Madam Chair and Mr. Chair and members of the Joint Board. So I have a very brief presentation about heat mitigation and our relief campaign. So this campaign will start May 1st and it will go through September 30th. Our objective here is to work with our regional partners to support the health, safety, and wellness of our riders and our employees by providing them with helpful heat information as well as connecting them to the resources that they need. And you'll see we have the Heat Relief Network logo on this slide. We are partnering with the Maricopa County Department of Public Health, as well as our member cities and the Maricopa Association of Governments in this effort. So we're focusing on 3 key efforts. Number 1, we partner with the local agencies to further the messaging that they have to support the health, safety, and wellness of the riders that we serve across the valley. We're also looking at our frontline employees and our frontline teams that they're provided with the tools that they need to stay safe while they're out on the system. And finally, we look at the design of our system. We're very proactive with our system as well as our fleet because we do operate in one of the warmest, maybe hottest areas of the world, certainly in the United States. So our system is designed to withstand that heat as well as our fleet. So what do we do for our frontline teams? Well, first of all, we provide them with information cards that have a QR code that will direct them to a heat relief map. That is provided by MAG. And that way, no matter where they are, when they come into contact with someone that needs help or needs resources, we could direct them to that map and to those locations. We also know it's very important to provide our frontline teams with access to water and hydration supplies, so they receive those on a continual basis over the summer. We also provide safety training on heat illness and if they're being overexposed to heat, what the signs are, and how to stay safe. You know, we have a lot of frontline people that are out in the heat all day long, so we need them to stay safe so we can operate the system safely. And also, we adjust our shift schedules to accommodate more work happening at night and early in the morning instead of the heat of the day. Now, for our riders, we utilize our communications tools that we have here at Valley Metro in order to message out where they can go for heat and just provide them with heat tips. So that means our social media, our Valley Metro app, putting something on our website, of course, utilizing the car card space and light rail, our bus shelter posters we make available across the valley with heat tips and directives to go back to that heat relief network. Rail station kiosk posters, of course. We also utilize our customer experience coordinators, as you can see in this picture. They have bottles of water with them. They go out on the system and they provide water to our riders and some other cool things that help people, such as chapstick and sunscreen and cooling towels, anything that makes their ride a little more comfortable while they're waiting at a station or a stop. And then we also will be providing heat relief information at the fair outreach events that are happening across the summer that you just heard Hillary talk about. And of course, we're in an active construction area with the South Central Extension, and we need to keep both the workers safe as well as the riders that are safe along that corridor. So we are looking at temporary shade structures, which we've done the past few years at the bus stops. I'm happy to say that about 20 of the bus shelters out of 35 permanent bus shelters have been installed along the South Central Extension. However, we will continue to go down there with water donations to local cooling centers as well as neighborhood groups to make sure that our riders are staying hydrated in those areas. And then also we will be doing just outreach events along that area as well, giving the community any kind of resources that they need in order to access support and stay safe. So this is an example of a poster that will be going up at the Phoenix bus shelters. I welcome any questions that you might have for me today. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have questions? Councilmember Pastor?
Yes, if you could slide, looking at my packet. It's the last slide, the South Mountain. The temporary shade structures at the bus stops, do you have those marked, or do you have a map to indicate where the temporary bus shelters are going? I mean, yeah,
So the
shade structures.
Sure. So, yeah. So they're very visible from the street. They are actually where the bus stop shelter would be located at if you were on a bus riding along South Central. So while we have more than half of the bus shelters permanently installed, we do have they are very visible from the street if you're traveling along South Central.
No, I know. What I'm asking is where are the temporary shades? Do you have a list or a map of where the temporary shade structures are located?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do not have a map because they are like the bus stop areas where you would be normally catching a bus. So they are located in the areas where the bus stops are.
Okay. Let me just give you history as why I'm asking this question. My history with South Central is that there was lack of shade structures until the community decided to contact me and others. So I was physically out at South Central looking at how we would shade South Central. I worked with a gentleman, I want to say Mora is the last name, but Luis. I worked with Luis on different pieces. He gave me demonstrated different type of shading types that what I was looking at. As a person from here understands the need for shade and how quickly you can get really hot, your body can get hot, and how you need to cool yourself down. So those shade structures, I'm very much aware. I want to know where they're located.
We certainly could put a map together and provide that on our South Central Extension page and provide it to the board.
And the other thing, because of the wear and tear, I was just out there last Sunday. The wear and tear of these shade structures, are they being replaced?
Yes, we're working with our contractor to ensure that they are being
Okay.
replaced.
And then can you provide me the installation of where the permanent bus shelters are at? I'll be out there Saturday, so
Yeah.
I can drive.
Yeah, we can provide a map that shows where the permanent structures are already installed as well as where we have temporary structures in place. Now those will be replaced in the same location with permanent structures. We can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
that's the history.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was physically out there climbing these things. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, anybody else in the room have questions? Councilmember White?
Mr. Chair, this is Mr. Edwards. When it's available, I have a question.
Just go ahead as long as you've got your mic on. Sorry.
I had a question about Jessica. Is it possible these new shade structures to install misters on them to help people cool?
Thank you for your question, Councilmember Edwards. So the shade structures within our communities, as well as the bus stops overall, are actually installed and maintained by your member communities, not by Valley Metro. I don't want to speak on behalf of those communities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember White.
Thank you so much, Chair Stipp. Thank you so much for the presentation as well. I just wanted to share that I know here in Avondale, because we want to partner in this process, one of the bus stops for Route 3 is at our Civic Center library and our Civic Center complex. So we will do what we can to partner with you to make this a more efficient process. I also know that there are quite a few stops in our area that don't have covering. So I know that it is definitely left to each member city to kind of manage the stops in our areas. So we do out in Avondale, I have seen myself that our public services, fire, police, our community services officers are oftenly frequenting the area, and they keep water with them as well. So a part of that heat relief, we could take it down to the municipal level and make sure that any of our first responders have water on them at all times. And I have reached out to our transportation department to make sure our microtransit will have water available when folks get in those vehicles. So anything that we can do to keep folks hydrated during this upcoming summer heat is really warranted. Thank you so much, Hillary, for the presentation. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you for the questions. I think that needs to be reiterated just one more time, is that we all, as individual member cities, have the responsibility to provide the shade at our bus stops. And I think sometimes we forget about that as we have this conversation over and over again. So it's a great reminder for that. I also noticed you talked during the presentation about the poster going up, and I may have misunderstood this, but you said it's only going up on City of Phoenix bus stops. It was,
Yeah.
am I just hypersensitive?
Thank you. No, thank you, Chair. No, thank you for that question. I did say that. That is correct. And we actually, this version of the poster will go up on Phoenix. We do have another version that will go up on the system outside of Phoenix. And that one will have the Heat Relief Network logo, and the QR code will direct people to that map for MAG. So this is actually the version that will go up on the Phoenix bus shelters, but we also will be placing a very similar version on all of the shelters that have available space around the county. The cities will be making those available to the cities.
Is that because the QR code is different, or is there some reason that we've got two different?
Yeah, so
Strategies.
that's a great question too. Thank you, Chair. So, Phoenix does have a stipulation where they they cannot have anything other than a transit-related message on their posters. So that's why we stuck to that messaging of the stay cool while staying hydrated.
What does the other one look like?
Yeah, so, I mean,
It-
you know
it-
me, I'm super practical, so tell me what
Okay.
we have, what would the difference be?
Yes,
Because I
so-
need to stay cool and hydrated in Goodyear and Avondale, just like we need to in
I
Phoenix.
think that we're directing back to a City of Phoenix landing page here, and the bus stops outside the City of Phoenix community will be redirected to the Heat Relief Network, which is regional.
Okay,
So this is a preference of the City of Phoenix, that
I-
they have different messaging.
okay, and I guess just from an efficiency standpoint, I would hope that maybe in the future we look at the same thing, and if we're changing the QR code on the thing, then I get it. Or the website, but
It's, yes, thank you, Chair. It is an advertising policy that is within the city of Phoenix, and that is, we're following their guidelines.
and I
that
get that.
city.
There's no question in my mind who is the literal driver of this. I don't question that, and I don't think anybody really does. I think when we start talking about system continuity, we start talking about, one system, there's nothing, I don't think anybody in an outlying jurisdiction would have a problem with this sign. So I think in the future, we need to be thinking about that from a very regional perspective, even though we know who the driver is.
I have
We
questions.
need
I
to,
have questions.
and I hate to have a bus analogy on that, but All right, I'm all done being hypersensitive,
Are
but
you done?
I'm all done. Go ahead.
Okay. So my question is the QR code. If I go to that QR code, where will it take me?
That QR code will take you back to a page of resources on the heat relief page, valleymetro.org/heat relief.
Okay, so the code for the other flyers, where does that take them?
So the Heat Relief Network QR code is on our other poster.
Okay, so I would like to see the difference between this poster and the other poster.
Absolutely.
And then I would like to see, is it the logo that's different? Because it sounds like the QR code is the same QR code. What is it that is different that Phoenix is prohibiting versus the other poster? Because we are a Valley Metro driven. We are asking for a consistent message. And if that's the one little piece that's hindering one poster, then as the representative on the Valley Metro board, I can go back and say, please explain this to me. What can we do in order to make it a seamless poster or one poster? Because I find it interesting that we're partnership, so there should be a little declaration in there saying, okay, if we're working with Valley Metro, whatever, or something that we are partners with and contribute to, we should be able to engage. So.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we completely agree, and we would love to have consistency across the valley. The branding is all the same. The posters do look very similar, but the QR codes are, one will point you to valleymetro.org/heat relief. The other poster just points you to the Heat Relief Network map.
But that says valleymetro.org/heat relief.
Correct.
So, and this is the Phoenix one, right?
Yes. Yes.
And the other one will say valleymetro.org/what?
It will actually take you to the website that has, it's the MAG website that has the Heat Relief Network map on it. And if we can adjust the poster so that they all have the same, direct everyone to that heat relief map, we would be happy to do that.
Okay. So I think my City of Phoenix peeps are here. And I think they hear what I'm going to try to do. So,
We're all looking at you, Mario.
yeah, Mario, you know what that means. So, all right, I understand we have our own heat relief mitigation office. So I believe that's probably what they're trying to move that traffic in Phoenix. But I think there's probably a way we could do it with the MAG site, and then maybe if the address is Phoenix or however, then it automatically moves them to the other site. I don't know, but we'll talk about the behind the scenes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more question.
Sorry, I'm on the west side. We only have a couple buses, so we don't have a lot, but we do have a heat relief process going on in the city of Surprise. So I guess what I'm trying to get my head around is, for those of us that have no rail and not as many buses, how we're able to participate. I'm thinking like a restaurant guide in my head, so just so you know where I'm going, where somebody can say, hey, I'd like to have something near me, so that when you put your QR code, it doesn't make you go to Phoenix if you live in Goodyear or Surprise. It takes you to whatever would be the heat relief where you are. Is that something that's possible, or something that is even likely? Because I can hear it now. It's going to be, well, I don't care what the heat relief is in Phoenix, no offense, Phoenix, but I'm in Surprise. Where's the heat relief here?
Absolutely.
I'd be happy to answer that question, Susan. So the MAG heat relief, it actually has an interactive map. If you go to AZ MAG, I think it's also /heat relief. It does have an interactive map with heat relief stations across the valley.
Okay. And I think that's something that we would want to promote on our side as well, for those folks that are out in the heat, so that we can have the places that we're supporting these efforts be for the people who are on our side of town, because we're not going to send them to Phoenix to go get water. That's just not going to work out for us. So, okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I do have one more question.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
As we go through the advertisement and talk through it a little bit more, and differentiate, I definitely appreciate what Phoenix does for the entire metro area, but I know Phoenix has some stipulations on advertisements for the express buses. Do we have the same limitation to put these marketing pieces on our rapid buses? I know one comes out of Avondale. I'm sure something comes out of Goodyear. Are these going to be appearing on those rapid buses? Because I'm not sure how much we can do in regards to marketing with express routes.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, and Councilmember White, I believe. Thank you so much for that question. We currently do not have plans for this information to go up on the inside of buses, but our plan is to have these posters to go up on the bus shelters around the valley. So that includes every city that has bus shelters. We'll have the option to have these posters so that anyone can see them that is waiting at a stop or even driving by.
I was just thinking about that because when I think about our transit center that we have out here in Avondale, we're going to be rearranging how that rapid bus does the pickup. I don't want to miss an opportunity, and I think it is an opportunity for folks once they get in the vehicle to know that more than standing outside of it, because they might be realizing it once they're inside and feel the cool air, but their body's not cooling down. So I just want us to be creative, think a little bit more in terms of the person who might be impacted by the heat instead of the resources we're providing. We have to think about the outcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think you're referring to park and ride facilities. Is that included in
Yes.
this?
Park and rides are included.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we all may be singing exactly the same thing.
Just with different words.
And we do have several, correct, we do have several communication channels that we are publishing this information on. So we are very, we're going to spread out the information as much as we can throughout the summer.
Before the summer.
So last year was the first year it was ever hot here. So I think we're all reeling by where this goes. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Which?
Yeah, I wish the same. Okay, item 7 is the travel and expenditures presented for information. That information was included in our packet. I have one observation because I have 2 meetings left of my tenure here. The travel reimbursement report, we've got 4 people that went to the same conference in New Orleans, and they all have wildly different total travel costs that I think those of us that have been on the board through the pain and suffering of the travel years are super sensitive to that. So I just ask that the Valley Metro staff keep an eye on how those things are becoming completely different. I don't want to take up a lot of meeting time, just to throw it out there.
It's a quick answer.
Okay,
It just relates to the duration of visits. Sometimes visits are much shorter. I'll attend a conference later this month. Other staff will attend. I'll be touching down pretty quickly and getting back out. So my costs will be lower, for example.
but I'm going to argue with you on that because you've got 2 people that went from 211 to 214, and one is $4,400 and the other is $3,600. So they stayed the same amount of time. They traveled on the same airplane.
And the airfare is low.
The airfare is not even, I mean, they're $400 apart in airfare. I mean, so I don't want to belabor it. I just want to call it to everyone's attention and just ask that we don't get caught up in the way we used to do it. We get caught up in the way we need to be doing it. That's all for those of us that suffered. Go ahead.
So yes, for those, I wasn't part of the suffering. I just was, our city who was representing was part of the suffering and putting in the boundaries or what was needed. So I feel like there's been a lot of new people that have been hired that probably don't know the history as to why we're so adamant at looking at the budget. And so we can have probably something offline to discuss with the history and why, what it means to us. So I understand, but you're correct. Because then we're going to be held accountable to the public. So.
All right, item 8 is report on current events and suggested future agenda items. I do want to call out before I open this up to the floor. Last month, there was the request for an answer to a number of questions related to the Low-No. I always want to say go-no. The Low-No bus presentation or works study session that we had in February. I want to assure my peers that response to those questions is just about final. I have actually seen it, have been working with the Valley Metro staff to make sure that we have the answers complete. We should potentially see that by the end of this week or the first part of next week. But I asked that we not rush the answers and then we get them correct. So any delay in that, you can blame wholly and solely on me. But it was to make sure that we got the answers to the questions that were asked. So does anybody else have any other report on current events or suggested future agenda items?
I have a suggestion.
Oh, go ahead.
So my suggestion is that if it's possible in the next couple of months, that we get an update on, as you presented this morning, on the ADA certification process and where you are on that, and hoping that surprise will be finished by then, so you can say we're already set and go. But I'd love to have that if you're working with anyone else or another location, so that all of the outreach efforts on ADA certification are provided at some point when it's ready.
Great. And Councilmember White, is your hand up from before or is it?
Oh, it's a new hand. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, it's a new hand. All right.
Hand. Yes, I just wanted to thank you, Chair. I wanted to celebrate our We Ride efforts out here in the city of Avondale. We hit 50,000 riders, and at the same time, in partnership with Goodyear and Surprise, the whole system of We Ride has hit 100,000 riders. So just want to celebrate microtransit out in the West Valley, partner cities. I see you folks in the room there. We're doing an awesome job, and I wanted to thank Valley Metro for the support that we've received up to this point for microtransit as we forge ahead and doing more to make rides accessible and finishing that transit journey on that last mile. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for updating us on that. Seeing no other information, the next joint board meeting will be held Thursday, May 16th at 11:15 a.m. With that, we will adjourn the joint meeting and begin the Valley Metro RPTA meeting with item 1 on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes from the March 21st meeting. Those have been presented to us. If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Goodman, second by Councilmember Pastor. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item 2 is the paratransit eligibility assessment and travel training services contract award. No presentation is what my notes said.
We are here to answer questions, Mr. Chair. Would you like me to provide a quick overview of this item?
Well, I think we should, for $18 million, we should probably.
I think so. And I want to make sure Tom Young, our, I was going to say Director of Accessible Transportation, but he is Deputy Chief of Bus and Paratransit. This item before you, continue in the theme of expanding access to accessible transportation. This is award of a contract to MTM Transit LLC for the services of paratransit eligibility assessment. So when we talked about the process of actually interacting with our customers to provide those one-on-one assessments. That work is actually delivered through a contractor. MTM holds the current contract today. We're nearing the end of that period of performance. And so we have re-procured those services and we are seeking board approval for the award of the next contract, which will take us through June of 2034. So this is a big dollar amount at over $18 million. This does take us out for the next 10 years. Tom, any salient information you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you, Jessica. Chairman Stipp, members of the board. As Jessica said, this is to seek authorization for the CEO to execute the contract with MTM Transit for the ADA eligibility assessments, which is required under the Americans with Disabilities Act and FTA. And it also includes our travel training program, where we teach individuals with disabilities and seniors how to use bus and light rail and not necessarily have to be dependent on the paratransit program. This contract is a 5-year base contract with up to 5 one-year extensions. Eligibility makes up about 61% of the contract, as travel training makes up the remaining 39%. One of the important pieces of this contract is it's about a 99% staff contract. So it's almost all personnel. The contract is designed as a cost plus contract. They have proposed some additional staff to keep up with the current demand in this next contract. We've retained the mutual agreement before those staff's added. So as they invoice us, they only invoice us for the staff that is on board at the time each month, and it's not the full contract amount. So it does give us a lot of tools to manage, and it gives us flexibility as we're moving forward in some of the new endeavors of community assessments. So I can answer any other specific questions at this time.
Great. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a motion in a second that we're going to open it up for discussion, and which will be questions from there. So with that, I'd like a motion to authorize the CEO to execute a contract change order with MTM Transit LLC for the services of paratransit eligibility assessment and travel training services in the amount not to exceed $18,075,687 through June 30th of 2034. Do I have that motion?
So moved. Second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Klein, a second by Councilmember McMahon. Now, open for discussion.
I have one question. What is the eligibility to ride paratransit? What do you need?
Okay, thank you. Chairman Stipp, Councilmember Pastor, the eligibility process it's kind of a two-pronged process. The first, an individual has to have a disability that's recognized through the Americans with Disabilities Act. Once we have that validation of the disability, then we look at a person's functional ability to actually use either regular bus or light rail service. If their disability prevents them from using the regular bus or light rail, then they become eligible for paratransit or Dial-A-Ride.
Any other questions? Anyone online? Okay, Councilmember Klein.
I'm slow. So in your certification process, things that have happened in the past, so sometimes their access to light bus and light rail, we do provide, sorry, let me back up. Surprise does provide ADA paratransit in Surprise, even though we do not have a light rail or a bus rail that goes through TAM. So we do participate in that. So my question has to do with, as we do the outreach to have people access the vehicles, one of the things that comes up probably the most is folks with motorized wheelchairs. That might work with some of the drop-down buses that you have in Phoenix, but since we don't have any of those, that's not an issue for us. And some of the other issues are expiration of their disability time. And I think this was explained to me once before, but just to be certain I understand it, we have someone who's blind who may have difficulty initially, and obviously you have the how to travel classes that can help people with that. But the blindness does not ever go away once that's been designated. So I'm just wondering how this whole process will assist those people with a permanent disability, whether they're permanently in a wheelchair or they're permanently blind. So this isn't a temporary access for those folks.
Thank you, Councilmember Klein. To address that specifically, and then I'm going to talk about another item that we're working on right now. So the original disability or the original eligibility is not based on a person's disability. It's based off of their ability to function in the community on their own with that disability. So using an example of an individual that is visually impaired at this point, through some of their own mobility training through the Association of the Blind, that their abilities could improve over time, even though their disability doesn't. Their abilities could, which is why under the requirements, our policy right now we set is every 5 years, there needs to be a recertification. What we are working on currently, and we just completed reaching out to 5 of our peer agencies, just to get an idea of how's the rest of some of our peers dealing with the recertification of individuals. Right now, it's real early on into what we're collecting at this point, but we do plan within the next month to come back with a potential change in that hard line. Everybody must go through recertification in 5 years and come up with a different version.
Okay, well, I appreciate that because I'm just thinking of a couple people whose vision is never going to get any better, and actually their ability is getting worse because of their age. So, and then I've already said this, with the recertification process having been as challenging as it has been in the past, that possibly a way to mitigate that for some folks would be helpful for them. So thank you. You know, I'm going to be on this forever. So just thank you for your understanding.
Awesome. No other questions? That ends the discussion. So we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Aye.
All right, item 3 is the proposed October 2024 service changes. Those were included in our packet of in our board packet, and it is just for information. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask the staff that they didn't already do? Otherwise, item 4 is the Valley Metro RPTA fiscal year 2025 preliminary operating and capital budget and 5-year operating forecast and capital program. This is being presented for information. This is our first look at the budget.
While they're setting up, Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is part of a relatively long but important engagement process. We are working very closely with RTAG, the Financial Working Group, and TMC RMC. We are responsive to the comments at all of those levels, including this board. We've got a few changes to the budget today in response to board member city feedback. You will see an expanded marketing initiative, which Ken will introduce. We have also adjusted the amount downward for merit and COLA. The presentation itself has changed a little bit. Ken is going to walk you through the mechanics of the presentation. It's a lot to digest, and you have not only the slides, but you have a detailed list of the initiatives he's going to review. So I'd like to invite Ken Kessler, Chief Financial Officer, to present.
Thank you, Jessica. Chair, members of the board, so this is the detailed initiatives in your packet that Jessica referred to. Just wanted to point that out to you. It's got all the details as far as the description of each of those initiatives. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, I want to start out a couple of things, as Jessica mentioned. We've engaged with your member city staff as well as the management committees. We've got a lot of great feedback. Really appreciate the efforts of everybody to participate and help us as we build out the budget. Mentioning just a few of those changes that Jessica touched on, the marketing and the merit and COLA. We updated some language and a handful of those initiatives based on the feedback we got to help us better, more clearly explain those initiatives within the packet. So just wanted to point that out. That, and again, appreciate all the input from the management committee and your member city staff that provided that feedback to help us make those improvements. Stay there. And just want to mention, you know, this is our sort of our strategic plan framework here. So the structure of our strat plan, you know, with the deliver excellent customer service is the overarching goal of our strategic plan, and all those other goals and foundational elements that support it. The budget is really built to support this strategic plan, and we've tied all the budget initiatives to a strategic plan goal to show you how those different items do support the strategic plan and the goals. Go ahead, next slide. Okay, and just want to real quickly run you through, this is an example of the initiative page, just so you can kind of follow through if you can click against. Okay, so here we have there's an initiative number there at the top that correlates, you see in each individual's presentation slide, correlates back to the write-up sheet that's in the detail in the packet. And then next, the agency. So we have initiatives that are RPTA specific, some that are VMR specific, and some that are combined agency initiatives. We have color coded those and indicated that at the top of each sheet is shown here. So orange is combined, purple is RPTA, and green is Valley Metro Rail. Next. And then as well here, we have identified the initiative category. So we have Valley Metro recommended initiatives. Those are sort of the new things that we're really diving into here deeply today to have those discussions and make decisions. But then we also have ongoing obligations that are continuing commitments and inflationary items. They're really those items we don't have much control over. They're just contract year-over-year rate changes, maybe inflation in fuel or utility prices, things like that. Next. Okay, and just do want to kind of highlight how we build and present the budget here for the last few years. This is, I think, the third year we've taken this approach. We start with the base budget, which is the current year budget, and that's sort of the starting point. We look at efficiencies or any areas of underrun or one-time items that don't need to carry forward into the next year. So we make those adjustments to the base and take those out, and then we add in those ongoing obligations. Again, those things that are just those that we don't have a whole lot of control over: contractual rate increases year over year, utility rate increases, fuel prices, things like that. And then lastly, we add on the in there the Valley Metro staff recommended initiatives, and so those are really the things that we are focusing on through the budget process as far as making decisions and you know what should move forward in the process, and all those things put together then drive our total operations budget. Next, and then here's sort of that breakdown of how we build the budget and how we present it in high level numbers. So you can see with our base budget, we actually had an $8.3 million reduction. And that's mostly through identifying some of those one-time items that don't carry through into next year, and some of those areas where we've historically had underruns, and we've determined we really don't need as much budget as we've had there in previous years because we haven't been using it. And we wanted to make sure we sharpen our pencils as much as we can and make sure that that base budget is as skinny as possible. And then you'll see here an overall budget of $277.7 million, represents about a 4.7% increase year over year. And then in the pie chart there really shows how the ongoing obligations is by far the vast majority of the overall change from year to year, from FY24 to FY25. And here just a high level look at the budget, looking at that overall budget of $277.7 million, primarily made up of fixed route operations costs, demand service operations. And I just do want to point out here with the Vanpool operations, you'll note this has a substantial increase. This is primarily due to the new contracting model, whereby the new contractor that started in January provides the vehicles. Previously, Valley Metro provided the vehicles, and so replacement of those vehicles were in the capital budget. But now, as part of the contract and the Vanpool operator providing those, this is a full year impact of them providing vehicles as we're transitioning from Valley Metro vehicles to the contractor's vehicles next year. So paying for the amortization of the cost of those vehicles now in the operating budget as opposed to the purchase or acquisition of those vehicles in the capital budget. Next. And then just quickly on the sources of funds for our operating budget. Again, the operating budget primarily supported by public transportation funds and member city contributions, as well as some federal funds and fares. So now I'll move on to some of the details, and we'll start with the recommended initiatives first, and then we'll go through those sort of obligations items after we get through these Valley Metro recommended initiatives. So first on the strategic plan goal of deliver excellent customer experience, a few items here. The first item here, service promotions. This is that marketing initiative that Jessica had alluded to. So in hearing feedback from folks throughout the process here in the last couple of months, we've added $250,000 to bolster our budget for marketing on the RPTA side, recognizing the need to really beef up those efforts to help promote our service and the benefits of our service, as well as with the goal of increasing ridership on our system. And then we have the second thing there is really additional website features to make it consistent with our new mobile app, as well as including integration with third-party services with the mobile app for a more convenient rider experience. And then the last item there, number 3, is audit of regional bus stop signage. There's been some discussion about the bus stop signage across the region. There being some inconsistency, and it really doesn't, present the Valley Metro brand. And so this is an initiative to kind of take a look at that and see how we might better design bus stops across the region to be more convenient and attractive to the customers and really catch the attention and make it noticeable that it's a Valley Metro bus stop. And then deliver on stakeholder collaboration, goal of the strategic plan. Yeah.
I apologize. I had to go. Were you just going to blast through all of this and then have us go back and ask questions, or did you want questions along the way?
I could do it either way.
I don't know.
Not
I
on the
don't wanna
slides,
interrupt
but if you want to ask questions on each slide, that works for me.
I don't want to ask questions on each slide, but I do want to make sure that we don't have to go, all right, well, back on slide 1.
Yeah, there's not a tremendously large number of slides for the new initiative, so I don't.
But I apologize for interrupting. Keep going.
No problem, no problem. Okay, so on this initiative here, enhanced stakeholder collaboration, this is a data portal publication that will provide member city staff real-time access to data, as well as a SMS texting tool to reach stakeholders and riders, and really intended to reach those that really are not currently engaged or subscribed with current Valley Metro communication channels. Next. Okay, for Invest in Our Talent, a goal of the strategic plan, this is the proposed merit and COLA. It's a 2.5% cost of living adjustment with a overall average of 3.5% merit. And again, merit based on performance. So that number will fluctuate obviously from individual to individual based on their performance. And this is really, we did some surveying of member cities a few months ago to see what they were considering for next year. The data was really kind of varied quite widely, but what we're proposing here kind of falls in line with kind of the overall average of what we're seeing across the valley. And it's obviously really to keep us competitive in the labor market ahead of our class and comp study, recognizing we won't have results or implementation of any of those results for probably about a year. So we want to make sure in the meantime that we're able to retain current employees and attract employees as we move towards filling our vacant positions. Next. Okay, so for data and technology, strategic plan goal, we have a few items here. The automated passenger counter validation is really to certify our current APCs on our vehicles. Now that we have 100% of our fleet with APCs, as well as the city of Phoenix, we want to certify those APCs so that we are able to use them for ridership reporting, and specifically for National Transit Database ridership reporting. It's a federal requirement that you have those APCs certified before you can use them for that type of reporting. And then for number 8 there, that's really about enhancing our current enterprise asset management system to improve efficiencies and really increase that operational reliability of our assets on the system and better maintain them in a state of good repair. And then number 9 there is just really the replacement of hardware that's reached end of life, which will help us keep our IT systems in a state of good repair and help us improve our disaster recovery efforts as well. And then for the operational excellence strategic plan goal, this is recommendation for automated fuel management system. This is really to help us more efficiently fuel and specifically better tracking for fuelant, coolant, and tracking mileage. And this really provides us more accurate and timely data so that we can react to any variations in consumption of those types of commodities to identify where we may have leaks or need some repairs done to kind of mitigate any of those overuse situations. And then this is the last strategic plan goal with the recommended initiative here. So cybersecurity risk reduction is really about on the IT side, endpoint detection and response, as well as better email security. And on the operational technology side of the house, it's really updating our OT server and workstations, operating systems, and really expand the use of what we're doing on the IT systems to the operational technology systems to increase the security there. And also as a result of the cybersecurity audit that was conducted a little while back to address that finding. So that's all of the recommended initiatives, and I'll pause here for any questions.
Thank you, Ken. Anybody in the room have questions? Anybody online have questions to this point? Not seeing any. I do have just one comment. I very much appreciate the add of the, if you go back to the, so here we go. If you go back to the initiative on the transit marketing.
Marketing.
So I'm just gonna call it that. There we go. Service promotion. That was not in the original, from what I understand, the original
That's correct.
budget. While I appreciate seeing monies added in there and I kind of moving forward, I think it's very important that we continue to promote the return to ridership. I've been very encouraged over the last several months to see the increase in ridership year over year as we've been coming back. That's been very encouraging, and that's with, and I'm going to overgeneralize it by saying that's with no marketing. So with an opportunity for us to enhance that, I think that that bodes well for the future. I guess the question is, can we get a follow-up on what we have been doing? So I have some idea. I don't need to write this second. If it's something we can just throw in a memo later, if it's a 2-second thing, that's great. But I know we spent a great deal of time, I think it was 2 fiscal years ago, maybe 3, talking about these promotions and what are we going to do and how are we going to move that forward. And as we talked a couple of months ago, it seems to have been all focused on the light rail. So I'm appreciative of that. I'm excited that we're seeing some return, and I just wanted to say thank you for throwing this in there.
Mr. Chair, we actually do have an internal memo that staff has prepared for me that addresses how we've spent our past marketing dollars. We'd be happy to provide that.
Perfect.
In the future, we would be happy to provide a marketing plan. We will be working with city staff to get feedback on that marketing plan before we finalize that, so we can provide that at a later date.
That's even better. I love give us something initially and then later on. Very, very important for us if we're going to grow this system regionally. So thank you.
Okay, I will move forward. I guess I got a clicker that works now. Okay, so we'll move into the those obligations items within our budget. Here's a summary, really largely driven by contract rate changes, fuel, utilities, those types of things. Of note in here, East Valley Bus contract is a big impact because current year is a half year. So in the next fiscal year, it'll be a full year impact of that new contract. That's really kind of driving that number there on the bus rate increase. So that's everything on the operating budget. Capital's next. I'll pause here and see if there's any additional questions on operating budget.
Questions? Okay.
Okay. On to capital. So the use of funds in the capital budget on the RPTA side, largely driven by fleet replacement. There's some timing issues there. The one thing of note is that in our budget, it is on kind of a cash basis in terms of how we recognize that. So maybe different from member cities who mostly recognize those types of things in their budget on an encumbrance basis. So when you issue a PO for something, you recognize that for here is when we pay for the vehicle. So due to the timing of manufacturing, as well as just the situation now with fleet manufacturing across the industry, it's taking a little longer. So that's why a little bit of a change there. We'll probably order some buses real soon here and probably see those probably maybe hitting at the end of next fiscal year, possibly into fiscal year 26 in terms of the budgetary impact. So just kind of wanted to point that out. And the sources of funds for our capital program, largely funded by federal funds as well as public transportation funds. And I just point out the carry forwards and reserves, that's really the fund balances of PTF. So those are revenues that we've earned previously that have not been used. They're sitting there in fund balance. So next year, you'll see those two first lines in total are about the same amount year over year. So it's really just a matter of in the current year, we're programming to use more of the current year funds. And next year, we're programmed to use more of the carryovers and reserves of the fund balances. And then moving on to pass-through funds. So again, reminding folks that all employees of Valley Metro Rail and our RPTA are really RPTA employees. So we do have pass-throughs for VMR personnel, as well as the pass-throughs for the capital program for VMR. Again, RPTA administers the public transportation funds and passes through those PTF funds for the rail capital program to VMR. And then for the sources, I was remiss in mentioning also, we do pass through Arizona lottery funds to our member agencies as well. So that's administered by RPTA. And here you see the lottery funds as a source, as well as the two primary sources are reimbursements for the personnel. So VMR paying back RPTA through their member city contributions for staffing costs, and then the allocation of the PTF revenues for the capital program through the split of the PTF between RPTA and VMR. So that is pass through. Any questions there? Before I move on to the 5-year.
I'm not hearing or seeing any.
Okay, so I'll move on to the 5-year forecast. So first we have the 5-year forecast for our operating program, about a $1.7 billion program, primarily on the source side, funded by PTF and member city contributions. And on the use side, the 5-year operating is mostly focused on the fixed route operations and demand service operations. Obviously, that's the primary purposes of RPTA, is providing those primary services. And then on the capital side, about a little under $540 million 5-year program there, primarily funded through federal funds as well as PTF funds as well. And then on the uses, again, we have a regional fleet in our capital program is one of the bigger items, as well as the disbursements through the VMR for the rail program. Any questions on the 5-year forecast? Okay, so last slide here, just a timeline of the budget process. So we've gone through a few cycles here with some of the groups coming here through the full board for the second time, looking at May for potential action or possibly action to adopt the budget may move into June. Just wanted to point that out. So that concludes my presentation. Happy to take any additional questions.
I'm kind of stunned, so any questions? I'm stunned because we've come through a very long way over a long period of time to get to a point where we don't have a lot of questions, but we're also not overextending our initiatives. We're also kind of keeping things moving together. I realize we're at the end of Prop 400. We're looking for the extension of 479. So I think this is a huge testament to the Valley Metro staff for picking this up and bringing it to a point where here we are in April, we don't have a lot of questions. We don't have, we'll look at Jim, what were there? 98. 3 years ago, we had 98 questions come through. This year, we obviously have 0. And I think that's a huge testament to the learning of the organization of Valley Metro and responding to the needs of the board and the member city communities. In addition to that, I think the member city communities have really come together and really helped guide through the financial working group and RTAG to help guide this process forward to get us to the point where this isn't a bloodbath. And I'm grateful for that.
Me too.
I think we all are, probably, to be very honest with you. So I would anticipate, unless there are major questions that come forward, that we will see this in May for budget adoption. Is that the plan?
I would expect so. I don't want to speak for the VMR board, though.
I'm only speaking for the RPTA board.
I would expect so if there are no other
frankly, I don't
questions that come up.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's a great way forward. I'm going to relay a question from Councilmember Tommelchoff that was included in the packet of information that I did not recall, but that does mean a thing. She had asked about let me get it, 14% vacancy rate. Was that somewhere? I don't remember seeing that. It's a pretty specific detail. I don't remember seeing that. But there's a 14% vacancy rate. Is that in Valley Metro staff? Is that a combined, is that a contractor piece? How does that break down?
That's a Valley Metro stat, and I don't believe it's in printed information. The question was asked at TMC RMC on April 3rd.
Okay. So will we get a year end or a fiscal year end roundup on where we at staffing wise? Because I know a year ago that was all the rage, and we've been, no news is good news, but I think maybe by the end of this fiscal year, we have some roundup on that.
We'd be happy to provide that, Mr. Chair, for our PTA, VMR, I think for our contractors as well, since they make up the lion's share of the people that deliver Valley Metro service.
That would be great. So Ken and everybody, thank you very much. Certainly made my year as chair easy. So this has been presented for information only. There is no action on it at this meeting. Pending any questions from anyone else, we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6 is report on current events and suggested future agenda items. Does anybody have anything to add for our PTA? Seeing none, our next meeting is still on May 16th at 11:15. And with that, we will adjourn our PTA. Give us a second to get out. Yeah.
All right, here we go. I'm going to convene the meeting and welcome members to the April meeting. Item number 1 are the minutes of the agenda. Minutes from the March 21st, 2024 board meeting are presented for approval. I request a motion and a second to approve the March 21st, 2024 board meeting minutes.
Motion.
There is a motion. Do I have a second from Vice Mayor Odue Harris? Did I get a second? Jennifer? I'll second. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we have a quorum? Okay. Those that don't accept the minutes, please say nay. All right, the ayes carry.
Vice Mayor Adams is online and so is Vice Mayor Harris.
No, Harris is responding.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 2, Valley Metro Rail fiscal year 2025, preliminary operating and capital budget and a 5-year operating forecast and capital program. Fiscal year 25 through fiscal year 29. Jessica Mefford Miller will introduce this item.
Thank you. And once again, I'm going to turn it over to Ken Kessler, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, Jessica. Madam Chair, members of the board. So won't go over the duplicate slides. Obviously, we've already shared this information. I'll move right into, that's too quick there. The VMR specific information. So here's that buildup of the budget again for Valley Metro Rail. The base for 25 has a $3.5 million reduction, identifying some savings there, some areas of underrun and one-time costs not continuing into FY25, with an overall $8 million change from year to year. Again, the pie chart there showing obligations being over 2/3 of the overall increase from year to year. And then on the operating budget, $86.1 million for rail, streetcars at $7.4 million, and agency operating at $3.4 million, representing a 9% overall agency year-over-year increase. And I'll mention a big part of that on the rail side, on the light rail side, is a full year operations of Northwest Phase 2. In the current year, we only have a half year or a little less than a half year, with it opening in late January. And of course, into the new fiscal year, the budget reflects a full year operations of that extension. And on the source of funds for our operating program, primarily funded by member city contributions and fares collected on the system. And so moving into the Valley Metro recommended initiatives for the operating budget, starting with deliver excellent customer experience goal. Again, the Valley Metro Rail portion of the service promotions or marketing effort, this is focused around a promotion with the Arizona Diamondbacks. We're looking to join in a ticket partnership with them, and this would be a marketing program to support that. And then on the second item listed there, this is a rail system signage audit. And really an educational campaign as well for as we transition from a 1-line system to a 2-line system as South Central nears completion and enters revenue service in calendar year 25. The next goal for deliver on stakeholder collaboration. This is the same initiative from RPTA. This is just the VMR share of that initiative at $14,000. For financial sustainability goal, we have one initiative here, a construction contract performance audit. This is recommended by our chief auditor. It would be to engage outside auditors with specific experience in construction contract area to look at our construction contracting practices and look to where we might gain efficiencies by improving our contracting practices with the VMR types of construction contracts. Are typically large in scope in terms of cost and just the scope of the work. So there's a lot of risk there. So we're looking to find some efficiencies in the way we deliver those projects going forward. And again, invest in our talent. This is just the VMR share of the proposed merit and cost of living adjustment for FY25. And for data and technology, again, the same initiatives, just the Valley Metro Rail share here shown on this slide here. For operational excellence, a number of things here. Recommend to add a SCADA specialist. This is part of the cybersecurity audit recommendations to add that additional resource. Blue Stake base map updates. This is to ensure that we have utility-based files that are up to date to make sure that underground utilities along our alignment are properly located so that if there's any underground activities, we avoid having any strikes there, making sure that data is up to date. For number 13, this is providing better oversight and quality for our cleaning services through bringing in-house pressure washing from our current contractor that provides that in addition to other cleaning services, as well adding a cleaning service coordinator position to better oversee our cleaning efforts, both in-house and those that will continue to be provided by a third-party contractor. Certainly.
Item 10. Is it SCADA?
SCADA, yeah.
Specialist, cybersecurity. What exactly is that special? Is that a specialist counteracting cyber
I'd be happy to take that one.
technology or software?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The response to that, I understand it's not clear. SCADA is supervisory control and data acquisition. It is the control system that we utilize to monitor the movements of our light rail vehicles on the system. And this is a result of our operations technology, or OT cybersecurity audit, and we have too little resources devoted to maintaining the SCADA system today. And it is a business critical, safety sensitive system.
Okay, I was just curious.
Okay, we'll move on from that slide. Oh, and the last item there, 14 South Central. So we have in here the initiative to add that staffing. There's a zero cost here to the operations budget because at this point, that cost of onboarding those additional staff will be in the capital program until revenue service starts. And then for prioritizing security on transit, the first one there, number 15, this is shared with RPTA. So this is just the Valley Metro Rail share of that at 126,000. And then number 16, rail safety specialists. So this is adding 2 rail safety specialists. We have a very small safety and security staff here, and this is really to help support increasing safety around the system, and also to make sure that we are in compliance with state and federal safety requirements.
Ken, it's me.
Yeah.
The voice in the sky.
Yeah.
16, rail safety. What exactly is rail safety? Is that security?
No, this is, safety would be things like unintentional harm caused by collisions, for example, operator behavior. Our rail safety team works very closely with our operating provider, ACI. So we're doing things like training, drug and alcohol, collision investigation, et cetera.
So it's keeping the system safe or making sure the equipment, everything is running correctly.
That's right. And responding to things like collisions.
Okay.
Okay, so that's it for the Valley Metro recommendations. Moving on to the obligations. Here's a list of those items within the VMR budget that are, again, the annualization of Northwest Phase 2 operations, some contractual rate increases year over year, and some utility rate increases as well. Happy to answer any questions. We're good? Okay. So I'll move on to our capital program. So in the FY25 budget, the capital program South Central continues, as well as the ramp up of the capital extension. Those will be the 2 biggest projects within that capital program. And then looking at the sources that support the capital program, federal funds, member city contributions, and public transportation funds being the primary sources that support the capital program. We good? Okay, so I'll move on then to our 5-year forecast for VMR. And again, start with the 5-year operating program, about a $592 million program over the 5 years. The primary sources, member city contributions and fares, and obviously operations and maintenance and security being the primary drivers on the use of fund size for the operating program. And then the 5-year capital program, about a $690 million program over 5 years, primarily supported by fund sources from federal funds as well as the PTF. And you can see that drop off as we move beyond fiscal year 26. As we all know, the restrictions on PTF going forward in the extension through Prop 479. So we'll see the member city contributions kind of go up from there. And then on the U side, again, the same projects, South Central and the capital extension are the biggest projects in the program for over the next 5 years. Any questions on the 5-year program? All right, and here's the recap of the timeline for the budget process. Maybe, I guess, more potential for June adoption here on the VMR side, but if not, we're obviously ready to go for May if that's the board's choice. So that's the end of my presentation. Happy to take any additional questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? This item is presented for information only. No action is required. I don't see any questions. So, all right.
Thank
There are
you.
no questions. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to move item 4 and item 5 up. Item 4 is report on current events and suggested future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items or any requests? Looks like I don't have any. Item number 5 is the next meeting. The next board meeting is Thursday, May 16th, 2024 at 11:15 a.m. I am now moving to item number 3. We're going into executive session. I'm going to request a motion and a second to enter into executive session as listed on today's agenda. May I have a motion?
Motion.
O.D. Harris made a motion. I need a second. I'll second. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Don't hear any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. O.D.
Aye.
Aye. Those not in favor, please say nay. The ayes pass. Thank you. We'll be going into executive session. I'll come back out and then close the meeting. Thank you. Okay, what is happening today? Where's everybody? This is crazy.
Number 3, executive session. There it is. Okay. Item 1. Item 2.
Hey, what's going on here? This is crazy. Hello?
Councilmember Harris, I sent you a confidential link to go into the executive session. So you'll need to
Okay.
disconnect from this one and use the one I sent you an email and connect
Okay.
it that way, and then you'll be in the executive session.
Oh, okay, I will. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Councilmember Littlefield, you can disconnect from the meeting if you'd like. We will end after the executive session for rail.
Okay, so I should just disconnect,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, and not worry about the executive session?
No, ma'am, it is for Valley Metro Rail Board members only.
Ah, thank you. Okay,
Have a good afternoon.
you too, thank you.
Vice Mayor Adams, you'll need to disconnect from this and go into the confidential WebEx that's been sent to you.
Adams, get with it.
All right, disconnect. Is that right? Leave meeting.